Welcome to One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer. This is the excited edition in January of 2024, and we'll get into that excitement that me and Max shares soon. But I do want to start by asking you to like us on Facebook, contact us through One Card, One Cub, One Beer at gmail.com. You can subscribe to our page by clicking on the icon at the bottom right. You can support us through Patreon. You go to patreon.com, you search One Cardinal, One Cup, One Beer, and you can support our efforts for as little as $3 a month or as little as $10 a month. I mean, it's not a whole lot of money. And if you all support us, me and JJ will get rich. We'll be on here with our bling. Max will completely quit the show because he'll retire. So why don't you just help us in our selfish financial endeavors and be a Patreon member? You're not going to hear it any more blunt than on here on One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer. Last week we had Guess the Cubby, and I gave you a giant hint. I said, I will let you know this is not Brad Hand. It wasn't. It was Barry Foot. See what I did there? Barry Foot, Brad.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Our Guess the Cubby was Barry Foot last year, and Mark Marianello, he got that right. So he has 4 tallies so far. Thomas J has 2, and Kuderlev has 1. I did hear get an email from a guy named Paul Parker. Paul, I'm going to mention you on here. And he said, I only listen to the podcast. I don't watch it. So you need to describe the player. So I thought that was kind of funny. But Paul, the player this week is behind me.
Yes.
The picture right over my shoulder, he kind of looks like a rock star. And then there's a picture on the other shoulder. He's an older man throwing out a first pitch of the game. And there's another picture of 2 more pictures of him just like in mid stride. So I hope that helps you understand who this guy is. But really, if you watch the YouTube show, you will actually see, because there are people who just wait for this to drop and then they say, hey, I know who that is, so on and so forth. But remember, if you do guess the Cub, you get a tally, and the one with the most tallies at the end of spring training will get the 500 milliliter drinking that's got the One Cardinal, One Cup, One Beer logo. And then on the back, it has a reminder that we drop most episodes by noon on Wednesday. You'll also
$500 item right there. $500 item.
The coffee mug, that beautiful mug with me and JJ's beautiful mugs on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You also get the One Cardinal, One Cup, One Beer official, unofficial license plate. So you can put it on your car and get pulled over and get a ticket. That's great. And you will also get the One Cardinal, One Cup, One Beer. You didn't know this was this kind of a show.
Some cheesecake there.
Shirt right there, the official one. And also you will get 2 tickets to a baseball game. And I've been just talking about it being a Cardinal game because, me and JJ and Max, we all live in the St. Louis area. But Mr. Paul Parker said, what if we want to go to a game in Wrigley? You know what? If you win this, I will let you decide Cardinal game in Chicago or in St. Louis or Cub game in Wrigley, and we will make it happen. So that's the
very nice.
So that's the opening stuff. JJ, Max, how are you two?
Go ahead, Max.
I'm fine. A little bit tired, but I'm managing.
Look at that guy, man. Acing all of his tests, taking over. Graduate.
He's finished.
I'm done.
Man.
I'm completely
done. Oh, you're done?
Actually. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's all that celebrating getting.
Yeah, that's why he's drinking. He's done. Yeah. So,
he's done.
So we are Monday. We are going up to Kirksville to move everything out of his apartment that we can carry with us, and what we can't carry with us, we will put at the curb and let some other freshman, sophomore pick it up and put it there.
Well, I hope you have good weather because it's been kind of shoddy weather, and I hear Sunday, Monday they're calling for some possible bad weather. So I hope we have good weather. And I tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but this is like the furthest point away from the baseball season. It's cold, it's windy, it's been sleeting and snowing. I don't know where this is. We're all around the St. Louis area. All you folks, I know we got people that listen all the way over in Thailand and Cincinnati and down in Texas, but up here it's been kind of rough weather. So I tell you what, I'm really missing baseball season. I don't know about you guys, but it's been kind of a rough time. I know college football just ended, and that's just one of the little yard markers to us getting closer to the baseball season.
I, because of this show, the off season has not been nearly as dreadful as it used to be. Last year, the show really got me through the off season, and this year it's kind of getting me through the off season too. So I feel like we're fortunate that we can do this show, and
Me
other
too.
people, just kind of sit there and get depressed like I used to, and cry in the fetal position when baseball season was over. So what do we got? Like 7, 6, 5 weeks before spring training?
Yeah, I think it's 5 weeks. I think we're getting near the 5 week mark.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, I think the Cubs are getting ready too, Vince.
Let's do Cub news.
Please. Yeah.
I will start with this and then I'm going to turn it over to Max. The Cubs had a major claim off waivers this week when we claimed Brian Serven, a catcher from the Rockies, off waivers. It's apparent that the Cubs are trying to figure out their backup catcher position by having a lot of options that aren't just young options. So, um, possible backup catcher this year, possible third string catcher, because I think we're going to go into the season, barring injury, with Yan Gomes and Miguel Amaya as our two catchers. So if we carry a third catcher, um, I guess Brian Serven may be that third catcher, but there's always the possibility we're just going to stick him in AAA or AA and let him catch and bring up bring him up if we need him for an injury. So, Max, is there any other Cub news?
Yeah, well, first I'd like to dive into that waiver wire claim. So there's actually a lot of competition to Iowa right now because they've got Joe Hudson, Jorge Alfaro, and Brian Serven now in the system. Serven is, well, he has to be on the 40 man right now, but Alfaro and Hudson are on minor league deals, so it is very interesting. Uh, Alfaro and Hudson probably have opt outs after spring training, but Serven has options, so he's optionable catcher depth, and they're probably not ready to bring Pablo Aliendo up yet, but it's quite fascinating. I mean, I'm quite looking forward to this battle between these three catchers in spring training. In fact, that's the one thing. If I were a Cubs fan, the one thing I would keep my eye on this spring training is, that third catcher battle. And in other unrelated Cub news, they actually did sign someone, Shota Imanaga. It's been rumored that they are his decision, the final team. The terms haven't been disclosed yet, although it's rumored to be somewhere in the $15 million range. Very exciting.
He's a left-hander and he sports 4 pitches, uh, fastball, changeup. Is it a curve or a slider and a splitter?
He's got a splitter and a kind of like a sweeper pitch he
Yeah.
throws also.
Okay. And he throws in the mid 90s. In 6 years in Japanese baseball, he's got an ERA of about 3.15, somewhere around there. First career, he averages close to a strikeout an inning. So he slots very nicely into being that second or third starter behind Justin Steele that we're looking for. Do you think we're done looking for pitching or?
As far as the starting pitching goes, probably close to it. The Cubs have a lot of very near MLB ready pitching talent. Ben Brown, Cade Horn will probably get some starts at some point. Even guys like Caleb Killian, who've kind of their prospect stock has fallen. Killian still touches 97. I have hope for him. And if he last year was a lost year. And then you got Jordan Wicks also. So and Javier Assad. So they have 6 or 7 or 8, LB ready starting pitchers. Granted, not all of them are going to be ready or effective, most likely, but there is a lot of depth. Steele, Imanaga as your 1-2 is perfectly fine. I've actually spent all day today, not all day today. I spent a good chunk of my day today doing research on Imanaga. I texted you this morning. I said I have a feeling in my gut the Cubs are going to sign Imanaga.
Yes, and
Um,
we are going to go on the carnival circus and make a lot of money, guessing futures and stuff. I will manage you. Anyway, keep going.
mhm. But he's got a lot to love about him. He's a lefty who touches, 94, 95 with his fastball. It's a very unique fastball. It has some very interesting characteristics for a fastball thrown by a lefty. It has a ton of vertical break. The only comps I saw for it were like Alex Vesia, who is a fairly effective reliever for the Dodgers. And then there was one other guy who I can't remember, but he's got some very interesting pitch shapes. The shaping on his pitch is very interesting. He has home run issues, which could be a problem at Wrigley, but that might be a matter more of location rather than the raw stuff. Uh, his pitches are pretty nasty from what I've seen. He had a strikeout rate of 10 Ks per nine, which is very impressive in the MPB where guys don't strike out like they do here. So he's got strikeout stuff, which the Cubs rotation desperately needed. If I had to guess, he'll probably have over 150 Ks. Fangraphs has him projected for around that. Zips has him projected for around that. So I have hope. Obviously, it's a big adjustment coming here, but Kodai Senga is probably his closest comp in terms of what you would hope to expect from him. Maybe best case scenario. Probably his median outcome is probably a 3.7, 3.8 ERA. Fair number of innings, a lot of strikeouts though.
I like last week I made a statement on the show that I cannot remember the name of the guy I was listening to. It's just blanking on me, but he was saying that the Cubs from here on out are only going to trade for or sign starting pitchers that they will make a start in the postseason. So that's Justin Steele. Cubs make the playoffs. Justin Steele is your game one starter right now. I mean, he may go out and crap the bed this year. Who knows? But as of right now, you got a number one in Steele who could start a playoff game. After that, who did you really have? Kyle Hendricks, maybe? You feel comfortable with him because he's a veteran, but he's not really that player. So this guy brought up, if the Cubs make the playoffs, they're only going to make the playoffs if Cade Horton comes in and makes the roster sometime during the year and has an impact, and he has the stuff to be a playoff pitcher. That's two playoff pitchers there, one in the system, one on the MLB roster. Now we've got that third pitcher who could make a playoff start. I'm still of the mindset that if we can, let's go to Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery is asking for a contract that's better than Aaron Nola. I'm not doing that. He's had one decent playoff run and some decent years. He's not Aaron Nola, but he's got Scott Boras as his agent. So I would move on from that. So I would still be open to listening to trade options for Shane Bieber. Other than that, I'm pretty comfortable with the pitching going into the season if we don't have someone, because a lot of people do not take this into consideration, but real hardcore baseball fans, the team that you break spring training with is not the same team you're going to finish with. There's a trade deadline that comes in the summer that you're going to make any additions or tweaks to your teams that you need to make. So I'm pretty comfortable with the pitching right now as it stands. I think there's room for improvement, but I wouldn't cry if this was the staff we have going into the season. We still need the center field situation settled. We still need the first base situation settled. We still need the third base situation settled. We need two of those three positions settled before we start the season. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's all Scott Boras, man. None of they have all the leverage right now. Rhys Hoskins is a perfect fit for the Cubs. He's a Scott Boras guy. He's not going to sign before Bellinger. It kind of sucks because the Cubs are in on both those guys when all Scott has to do is effectively just wait. Right now, it feels like the Cubs are the only real suitor for Bellinger, which kind of makes things a bit weird. Also, I wouldn't say the pitching is necessarily done because they still need probably another one or two quality relievers. just as far as like the bullpen completely fell apart in the last month of the season. No one was healthy. You can't have Adbert closing 70 games a year or whatever. I mean, it's just not going to work. So ideally, they probably need a reliever in like the Robert Stevenson kind of sphere, someone who's going to be your eighth inning guy.
My issue with Ross last year when the bullpen fell apart, he had one guy who had the stuff to get out lefties and righties, and he didn't use him that much, and that was Luke Little. You might as well die with the guy with the best stuff rather than recycling people who your Quasses. Quass is a good 6 inning guy. He's not an eighth, ninth inning guy. Leiter Jr., who lost his splitter the last month of the season. Quit sending him out there. Sink or swim with Luke Little. That's what I would have rather done. That, so I think Luke Little is going to be a big part of this bullpen this year. I love his stuff. And I think maybe a Ben Brown could be a big part of the bullpen too.
So, I think it'll be guys like that who certainly step up. And it'll be interesting to see how Council kind of manages that. Who was there? There was a rookie reliever on the Brewers this year who touched like 101 or something crazy. Trying to remember his name, but I don't know. I mean, that guy was a rookie. He came up and he was immediately in high leverage spots because he had the stuff for it. And Luke Little, he pitched fantastic. He threw, I don't know, 7 or 8 innings of 0 ERA ball, just striking out everybody. I mean, he touches 100. Guys like that should be getting innings.
105.
Yeah, there was a video in college of him hitting 105.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I don't know if the hesitation was because he was stretched out as a starter to begin the year and maybe didn't know how he would transfer into that relief role, but he seemed completely comfortable when he did actually pitch. They certainly have a lot of internal options, and I think if the front office doesn't acquire, another reliever or any relievers, I think that really speaks to their faith in the pitching development.
Yeah. Well, JJ, you've got some exciting news as far as the Cardinals go. They've had a busy week.
Yeah, we've made a couple of moves, and congratulations on your pickup too. I know it's kind of early, but I'm sure most of the Cub fans are pretty excited about that because you always heard the Cubs hadn't made any moves yet, but I knew it was just a matter of time. They probably were big on Yamamoto and some of those other guys, and of course things just went the other way. But congratulations, and I tell you what, it's going to be a heck of a season. This division's going to be, I think, wide open. But on the Cardinals side, the Cardinals traded one of their outfielders, Richie Palacios. A lot of people checked out of the season. A lot of the average fans, once the Cardinals were way out of it, they didn't really watch. But Palacios came up at the end of the year. We got him from the Cleveland Ball Club for cash considerations. Now, I've heard some Cleveland fans saying we drafted this guy, we're working with him, and he never really bloomed. And then he goes to St. Louis, and he had a great couple of months with us. But I hate to see him go, but we have a log jam of outfielders out there, and I knew some had to go. Tyler O'Neill went to Boston, and now Palacios is going to Tampa Bay. And good luck. I wish him all the best. I love that kid. He wore the goggles, and I remember there was a big game we had where it was us versus the Cardinals versus the Pirates, and he got to play his brother, and it was really kind of a neat thing to see. And both of them came up big. His brother in the second game, and I know him in the third game. But we trade him over to Tampa Bay, and we got a reliever who's coming off of Tommy John surgery, Andrew Kittredge. I'm excited about this. This guy was an all-star. He played since 2016 with Tampa Bay. The last couple of years has been sparse playing time because he had the injury, but this could be something good. He's 33 years old, which as a reliever, I don't think that's such a big thing as a starter because they're going to pick his spots and everything. When you're 33 and you're a starter, you're starting to maybe get at the end of it unless you're a freak like Nolan Ryan or Clayton Kershaw or somebody like that. But as a reliever, that's not so bad. He's been in the big league since 2016 with a 3.56 ERA, 15 saves. He's more of a middle reliever, and he had one all-star appearance. But to be honest with you, every team gets an all-star participant, and he was the one. participant from Tampa Bay that year. So that's to be honest. But our outfield still, we have a lot of outfielders and some more coming. So I don't know what they're going to do about this, but Alec Burleson can play first and the outfield. We have Dylan Carlson, who I hope can defensively. I'd love him to be our center fielder. He's just got to cut down on the strikeouts, and I wish he would only bat one side of the plate. There's one side of the plate he's a much better hitter, but for some reason they still have him out there switch hitting. So we'll see. I love Dylan Carlson. I hope he. We have so many players that are just these young guys in their second and third years that really haven't stepped up to the next level. They're just, have a shot at being really good players. So Carlson's one of them. Gomez is still on the team. Newt Barr, Walker, and then of course Edmund and Donovan can play the outfield as well. They play everywhere on the diamond. So that was our big move, and I wish Richie all the luck out there because he's such a nice guy, big smile on his face. And I'll be watching some Tampa Bay games just to see him play. But it looks like on their roster he'll be the fifth outfielder, and that's kind of what he was with us too. And I didn't see him getting a lot of playing time, so this was a good pickup for that deal. I
like the trade because if Kittredge, if he does bounce back, he's going to be an asset to the bullpen.
Oh yeah, we needed some help in that bullpen.
This is a situation where his age is going to be something that's going to be a positive because he's going to be one of the older people in the bullpen, so he's going to be one of the bullpen leaders. But I've seen the memes, the Arozarena stuff, I traded to the Rays for a pit, stuff like that. This guy was going to be at best your fifth outfielder or probably starting in AAA. Yeah. So I thought you've got to trade some of this talent somewhere. And I thought for the potential he's shown compared to the pitcher that you got, it's a pretty good trade. That was even.
I hope it works out for both teams. And like you said, Vince, the team that you start with April 1st is not the team you end with. And Richie may be out there starting. He may work his way into that lineup, and good for him. And if you ever had a bad trade, every team's had bad trades. You wouldn't stop trading with that team. I mean, we've had some really good trades, and we've had some really bad trades. And the Rosarena was one of the bad ones, but we still make deals with Tampa Bay. Another move the Cardinals made this week, they hired an executive, Chaim Bloom, from the Red Sox. And I've heard the name over the years a lot. And to be honest with you, he's 40 years old. Vince, he's 40 years old. Man, that makes me feel, what have I done with my life? Chaim Bloom is only 40 years old, and he was with Tampa Bay 10 plus years, and a big part of their minor league system and working weight people. Man, Tampa Bay's got a great minor league system, and they do it on a shoestring budget, and they brought up so many pitchers through the years, and that's one thing the Cardinals have not done. He went out to Boston. I don't think that was a good fit for him anyway, because about the time he went out there, they kind of cut their payroll a lot. So I don't hold that against him, but he's coming here. And to be honest with you, everything I've heard is John Mozeliak's just got like 2 years on his contract left. He may be retiring, and maybe Bloom is just coming in, learn the Cardinal way, have a fresh perspective, do things in a new light, a new voice in the room. And I'm kind of excited about it, So I appreciate the Cardinals going out and getting this guy, top management kind of guy, and let's see what happens. So he's going to be with the Cardinals. I don't know. Right now he's with us. I don't think he's going to. What else have I heard about him? That's about it for him. You have any thoughts on Chaim Bloom?
No, I think he's at the right age to be the replacement for Mozeliak if he chooses to go elsewhere after 2 years. And Mozeliak may want to go somewhere where they're a little more loose with the spending. Every GM wants to be on a team where you can spend a little bit more, like the guy that went from the Brewers to the Mets, So that's probably the avenue the Cardinals are looking at. This is a young guy who's 40, who's got a lot of experience for his age. And after a couple of years, he's going to take over and work his magic. And Mozeliak chooses to retire, chooses to do something else with his life, or he chooses to be a GM for another team. That avenue is open for him. So not a bad hire. I've seen people who've said online, we need to bring back Luno. Um, uh, uh, why? He and the
I
Cardinals
don't
did not have a,
know. That
and,
didn't end
and
well.
he's kind of been a scumbag. So why bring him back?
Yeah,
So
I wish him well, but no, don't come back, please.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there is things going on this week in Cub and Cardinal land. This is the week they have their winter warm-ups. The Cardinals call it the winter warm-up. It's going to be January 13th to the 15th. I've never been. It's nice. They have questions and answers. They have demonstrations. You meet the players. They get everybody excited about the upcoming year. And it's down there at Baseball Village in Busch Stadium. But also, the Cub Fan Fest is going on this week, January 12th through the 14th at the Sheridan, the Sheridan Grand in Chicago. So they bring back a lot of the old players, and we both know a lot of Cardinal Cub fans will be out there and getting their pictures and stuff signed. So it's just a good time. And I know the Cardinals also have a caravan. There's like 6 groups that drive through different towns, kind of get everybody revved up. They take pictures and talk about the upcoming season and everything. And it's usually some young players and a few coaches or something like that. And they
When
go to Cape Girardeau and all over the place.
when did the Cardinals start doing this caravan?
The first time I heard about it was about 10 years ago. About
Okay,
10
because
years ago.
when I lived in Kansas City, that's what the Royals did. And it
Oh,
wouldn't just
okay.
be, it would be Brett, Bo Jackson. It would, they did that
Oh,
caravan thing because their fan base is in these little towns scattered in Kansas and Missouri and a little bit of Oklahoma. So they would just do this caravan thing. And I think for a long time they were the only team doing it that way. And they had a write up in Sports Illustrated about it. It was so cool. And now the Cardinals doing a lot of teams with the Cubs. I don't think do anything comparable to it, but pretty cool thing. You in a small town, Cape Girardeau. Hey, the
oh.
Cardinals are coming up.
Jonesboro, Arkansas. Yeah, this is a chance. Some of the people don't make the trip up to see a real game. And here's the players you hear about. And here they are coming through. Al Rabowski, he's always on these caravans and things like that. Jose Oquendo, folks like that. So it's pretty cool. And I know a lot of people who go to them, a lot of kids, they go to schools or, community centers and things like that. So it's a good time. I got
Very
some dates on here. This date, January 9th, uh, in baseball history. I got 3 events that happened on this date. In 1990, Jim Palmer and Joe Morgan were inducted to the Hall of Fame. And Vince, that's in our wheelhouse. Jim Palmer and Joe Morgan. Those guys, we grew up loving them. We didn't get to see Palmer much because we didn't get to see American League games, but Joe Morgan and the Reds used to smack the Cardinals around in the 70s every time we played them. So that was 1990. In 1989, Johnny Bench and Carl Yastrzemski went into the Hall of Fame. And between them, they played 40 years, and they both played for the same team all those years. That was pretty cool. I was a big fan of Carl Yastrzemski. Well, and Johnny Bench. Like last week, Vince, we said he's the greatest catcher we've ever seen in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
So that was it. And then 1952, on this day, the Korean War was still going on, and the Marines gave notice to Ted Williams that he was to return to active duty. So this man went to World War II for 3 years, comes back, is the greatest hitter that ever lived, and then he retires and has to go off to Korea and be a fighter pilot again. Ted Williams, man, that's something else right there. So 1952, that happened. And then this date, I like to talk about the dates. I look up all this stuff, but there's 2 players that have birthdays today. One's a Cardinal, one's a Cub. Today is born in 1970, Cardinal TJ Matthews. TJ Matthews' birthday is today.
From Columbia, Illinois.
Well, I have it being Belleville, Illinois.
He's
When I
probably
found
born in
it,
Belleville, he went to high school in Columbia.
oh, is that close by?
Yeah, they're close by.
Oh, they're close by. He spent 8 years in the big leagues, 32, he was a reliever, 32 and 26, 16 saves and a 3.82 ERA, and
Got
he's
traded for McGuire.
yes, that's what I remember about him more than anything. He was
He
in
and
that
Blake
trade.
Stein, yeah.
Yeah. Well, on the Cubs side, today's birthday is a name we all love. Ivan De Jesus was
Yeah.
born today. Yeah, good old, and that is not just a little clue. That is not Ivan De Jesus behind Vince up back there. That is not Ivan De Jesus. um, he was born in Puerto Rico. He played for a lot of clubs. He played 15 years. He was a Dodger, a Cub. He played for the Cubs more than anybody, 5 years. The Phillies, the Cardinals, the Yankees, the Giants, and the Tigers. And he ended his 15-year career with 1,167 hits, a 254 batting average. But he in those 15 years, he ended with 194 stolen bases. That's a pretty good statistic there.
And he brought over
So
Ryan
anyway,
Sandberg. That's who we
is
traded
he a
for
part of that
Sandberg.
deal?
Yep, yep.
Oh, well, see, Dallas Green came over from the Phillies to the Cubbies, and he had he knew how good Sandberg was. I wonder if Council might bring some of those Brewer guys over that he knows about.
Well, originally the trade was just going to be De Jesus for Boa. And that's when Dallas Green said, throw that Sandberg kid in too. And the
A little
Phillies said,
shovel.
all right. So it's
Oh,
got him. So,
right there.
little bit of a names of notice. It's been in the transactions this past week. The Angels signed pitcher Zach Plesac, father, former Cub, former Brewer. Zach has pitched for the Guardians, and I think he was suspended for COVID violation of some kind a few years ago. That's springing in mind. But anyway, he had that one good year, and he's just kind of not rebounded since then. The White Sox signed veteran catcher Martin Maldonado. Pirates signed pitcher Martin Perez. The Rockies signed Dakota Hudson, former Cardinal. And they also signed Jacob Stallings, former catcher for the Pirates and the Mariners. And why is that significant? This is why it's significant, is because Jacob Stallings' father is Kevin Stallings, who coached basketball at Vanderbilt, Illinois State, and I can't remember where else. But Kevin Stallings graduated from high school from Collinsville, Illinois, was a heck of a basketball player.
Oh,
And this is how this 6 degrees of
separation.
from Vinny goes. My ex-wife grew up right down the street from Kevin Stallings, and Kevin's sister Cindy was my wife's good friend growing up. So it's a small world, Jacob Stallings. You don't know it, but somehow we're almost related. The Brewers signed first baseman catcher Austin Nola. The Brewers trade Justin Chambers to the Dodgers for Brian Hudson, pitcher for pitcher. The Mets signed former Cardinal center fielder Harrison Bader, and they signed pitcher Sean Manaea. The Manaea deal is a 2-year deal, and he has an opt-out after 1 year. The heck? I mean, 2-year, $28 million for a guy who has kind of fallen apart the last few years. I don't opt out after 1 year, whatever. Mariners trade Robbie Ray, former Cy Young winner Robbie Ray, to the Giants for right fielder Mitch Haniger and pitcher Anthony DeSclafani. And I do like that the Mariners picked up a quality major league hitter and a quality major league starter for the price of a Robbie Ray, who seems to be trending down. So I thought that was a pretty good trade. The Twins, they claimed Ryan Jensen off waivers from the Marlins. The Red Sox signed one of the bigger free agent pitchers left on the market, Lucas Giolito, who seems to be kind of maybe going on the downhill trajectory too, excuse me for that. What's the word I wanted? Verbal mistake. And the Mets hired Rachel Balkovec as the director of player development. The Marlins did. So the Marlins, they had Kim. Can't remember her name, the Asian lady. They had her for the GM and she left, and now they have hired a female for director of player development. So they're one of the more progressive organizations when it comes to um, their hiring practices. So that's pretty cool. So any of those transactions worthy of discussion?
Ryan Jensen was a Cub for a while. Came up in the system. He's been kind of in the DFA limbo where teams kind of want him, but they don't want him for a 40-man spot. So everyone's trying to pass him through waivers, and he keeps getting claimed by everybody. So he's kind of in limbo right now.
He's a renter. He's not buying his houses. So.
Yeah, he is waiting until spring training. I'll say that.
What do y'all think about the Giolito and Mania signings?
Actually, I kind of like the Mania signing. I saw when he came back from his injury last year. From that point onwards, he had like a 3.5 ERA with peripherals to match. So, maybe there is hope for him. I think he's going to be a more effective pitcher than Giolito. Giolito is going to give you a ton of innings, but Mania, I think, has a lot more upside.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do like Harrison Bader going to the Mets. And I think the Mets have learned their lesson, and they've got an intelligent GM now, who is not just going to say, yeah, let's throw money at 40-year-old pitchers who might get injured. 40 million for you. I got 37 million for you. Those days seem to be over. And Harrison Bader is a pitcher's dream in center field because he's going to catch everything that's hit in his general direction. So that's a good signing for the Mets. I like that. So my jury's out on Mania, I think I saw him twice last year and he looked so bad both times. So didn't he get sent to like the instructional league last year?
You're thinking of the Blue Jays pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I can't remember his name. The big guy. The big guy.
Manoah.
Manoah.
Yeah, Alek Manoah. Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's the transactions. But as far as further trades, who's never going to get traded?
Oh, I would never trade him. He's the piece of the pie you gotta have. Jeremy Connor.
Jeremy Connor is never going to get traded. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. And welcome to our interview segment. And we have a special guest with us, another graduate of Wood River High School. Yeah. So you were a year behind me. So you graduated in 85.
Yep.
So that means you're just a year younger than me. So you're 34. That works out great. So
Perfect.
that's the math that I got from my baseball coach, Mr. Davis. So I wonder if Mr. Davis is still with us. I don't know. But anyway, Scott Throneberry, I've known him since we played football together in high school, way back in the 80s. And this is the first time we've seen each other since probably 1984. And like he said, I have not changed a bit. I have looked like this. I've looked like a pudgy, middle-aged, balding man since I was 16 years old, and I'm proud of it. So anyway, Scott, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you guys inviting me. I don't know what I'm in store for, but I'm up for it. So
well, we start with something very soft. Tell us about your history as a baseball fan. Were you raised as a Cardinal fan? How you fell in love with baseball?
Baseball fan. I'm a Cardinal fan, so I hate to disappoint. I see all the Cub background, but obviously a St. Louis person. I grew up a Cardinal fan, and got into it. And as we talked a little bit before the show with, if you remember, Donnie Cobb was one of my coaches, and
oh yeah,
Terry Brown was one of my coaches. And, we played the Little League baseball, and you played 16 games in a summer, and you thought that was the best of all. And, it was, that was about it. Summer was over, baseball was over. And, it's here 35, 40 years later, and it's just, it couldn't be further different than the way it was when we grew up. Much simpler, but now you're playing year round, and it's become quite complicated. So
Quite complicated indeed. I reconnected with you on Facebook, and you put a lot of posts about you've got two sons, and they're both excellent athletes as you were growing up. And you have a son, Connor, who is a sophomore, a redshirt sophomore at Penn State playing
Yep.
baseball. And you have a son, Caden, who's a sophomore at Marquette High in the western part of St. Louis County. And he's also an excellent athlete, plays baseball. Starting quarterback is a sophomore on the varsity. That's very, very impressive. So I've kind of kept up with you through what you post about your kids doing. And my sister, her second son, he was a pretty good baseball player. And whenever she was telling me about all the stuff that he was doing, I thought, man, things have really changed. There's 16 games, and if you were good enough to make the All-Star team, you went and you played. Like I said, one year, I think we played Granite City and got completely stomped, and so we didn't go to the Little League World Series, which I thought we would. But it's quite an investment of time. It's quite an investment of finances. Tell us how the kids got involved in baseball and what all you have done to foster their baseball lives.
Sure. I don't think when I started, I knew what I was getting myself into. I'll start by saying that is that, I was still the kid from Wood River that, okay, my 5-year-old wants to play baseball, and we're going to play 15 games in the Pond Athletic League, and it's going to be a great time. And who cares if they win or they lose, or if my kid's good or my kid's bad? It's just part of growing up, right? And so we played the first year and the second year, and you could start to see that, that it was a little bit more competitive than that. And I think when it all kind of came to a head, and it kind of sounds really scary to say this, but my kid was 7, and the coach came up to me after the season, and he's just like, well, Scott, I have to have this conversation with you, but we're going to cut your kid. He's just not good enough to play for the Pond Sluggers.
Wow.
That's heartbreaking.
It was a complete heartbreaker. My kid's 7 years old. So, but this comes back to how I raise my kids, how my wife and I have been married 30 years, by the way. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. A lovely wife, and how we raise our kids. And it comes back to is that I had that choice where at 7, do I just tell him, yeah, let's go do something else, son? Let's go to another team, and or do I just be flat out honest with him? You're not good enough. I took that road. I mean, I've always been, whether they're 7 or he's 20 years old, he's 21 now. I mean, it's a very transparent relationship. And so I sat down with my kid at 7 years old, and I just said, look, you're not good enough. They don't want you on the team. They don't want you on the team. And he's like, well, I want to play on that team. That's all my buddies. I'm like, well, he's like, how can I play on that team? So I had to go back. I had to finagle my way back on to the coach, to the team. And I said, just give us the fall season to work through it. And it's kind of a do or die. If you cut him again after the fall, I'll live with it. I'll move on to greener pastures. Right. And so, then it started. Okay, we're going to go to the hitting cages. Okay, we're going to get instructors. Okay, we're going to, learn how to be a better baseball player. And, my 21-year-old is, the one thing he had going for him at that time was his size. He's a big kid. He ended up being 6'6", and I think he's 6'6", 235, 240 now. And he's a big kid. But he was always a head taller even at that age. And so, you got to learn how to hit the ball far. That's what you got to do. If you're going to make this team, you got to learn how to hit the ball far. And so, let's just say we had a good fall to keep this as short as possible. Is that he had a good fall, and he hit the ball far, and they were like, okay, let's we want this kid to play on our team. And so, the first life experience for a 7-year-old, right? You're not good enough. And it's been it's actually good that he went through that, because that's not the first and not the last time that's happened in life with him as he's played sports. And he's been an incredible athlete at all levels. But as you got it there at 7 years old and you're like, okay, let's go. But then that's when it started. And that was the transition. Was this coach was like, okay, guys, last year it was 30 games. This year, if we don't play 100, we failed.
Wow.
I took the bait. I went. I said, I'm all in. Let's go. My kid was having a blast. I was enjoying the life with the parents. I was, it was a fun thing to do. But it's still, it's a lot of time, and if you really want your child, whether it be softball or baseball or any sport, anything they're passionate about, it doesn't have to be baseball. You've got to be a part of it. You've got to be a part of it. And that's where, with, so many kids nowadays, I see that, yeah, they're going to the best coaches and they got the best lessons, and they, it's mom and dad dropping them off. Listen, I wasn't the greatest baseball player in the world. I'll say it straight up. But after 20 years of seeing the best coaches and being at practices every day and listening to people talk about the fundamentals of playing the game, I know it pretty well. But that's the involvement that I have with my kids. And so, ask me what I did on Christmas, on the Christmas Day, after the presents were all open, after we ate meals. What was I doing? I was up at the batting cages throwing BP. I was throwing BP.
That's pretty cool.
My kids, he comes home for Christmas and he'll be like, my other one will go up there and he'll throw now because he's a pitcher now, but the other one, he wants to hit. So it's that involvement and that's where that makes the difference, right? I mean, you've got to work with your kids, because you can send your kid to a coach and it can be very expensive, but that's 1 day, 1 hour a week. What happens with the other 6 or 7 days, and what happens with the rest of the time? You've got to have that commitment. And so, it's 7 at 8, 9. He started to experience success. And so as success grows, more do the opportunities, right? So the better he got at 7, 8, 9 years old, the more opportunities came along. And so then you had, teams, and then you'll love this, is that, so that's the other part. And this was before it really, now it's commonplace, but this is when he was 10, 11 years old. How do you get your kid noticed? Man, there was this great thing out there back then called Twitter. And if you started putting your stuff on Twitter, people around the country would see it. And so, so that's where we started laying a foundation on Twitter, to where, we would post different highlights as he was continuing to grow up. But then I was getting calls from coaches in Florida and from the Carolinas and from Texas and from other places that said, hey, is your kid open this weekend? Would he like to come and play? And so, and I've been blessed from a professional standpoint to be able to afford these things, because they're incredibly expensive. It's a lot of travel. I travel for work, so I have a ton of frequent flyer miles and a ton of, hotel points and of the likes. But it evolves from there, and it continued. But and I'll tell you, it's with the older one, I was incredibly hard on him. I was. We've all seen it, right? That dad, we've all seen the videos, right? The dad, and it's pretty embarrassing, because I have a YouTube channel that I've got over 700 videos on the YouTube channel. And these are from my kids from when they're babies to today. I post videos of games, highlights, you name it, but it's 700-800 videos. So you can see the one at 16 now, where I'm drawing chalk lines on the concrete floor to make sure he keeps his feet to where he's in his diaper and he's hitting off a tee at 2. And there's other videos where I'm screaming at my kids to do better. It's just embarrassing. It's to where I've evolved as a parent, to where now my second one's going through it, and I'm not the same way as I was with the first. So I've learned.
Yeah, you learn a lot.
I've learned a lot. I don't need to, and I kind of chuckle at the parents that are going through it the first time, that are doing what I did when I went through it the first time. So, the second time through, the second one, he's blessed, right? He got to hang out with all the kids. He got to see all the training. So he had an advantage over the first one. But with him, he's got the internal drive to take it to the next level. But he works hard at it. I mean, I want him to have fun. I can't sit here and honestly tell you with the first one that I always wanted him to have fun. I wanted him to hit a damn home run, and I wanted to win the game. Okay, it's not about that. And I learned that, but it took me time to learn that. So, but that's where it evolved from. And then I think when they got to, when the older boy Connor got to, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, you either have, they're either going to develop the passion from within. And I coach Little League football too. So, my kids make fun of me because I always talk about my passion speech, right? You can teach kids how to play. You can show them instruction. You can show them what they need to do to be successful. The one thing I can't give any kid, and I'd love to give any kid, is passion to play the game. If I can give you passion, if I could give it to you, I would, but I can't. You've got to have it from within. So I've taught my kids that. And so when they get to be about 8th or 9th grade, it's like that passion takes over. And now they're on their own. And I'm still along for the ride. Believe me, I'm still shagging fly balls. I'm still throwing batting practice. I'm still, before they could drive, I'm taking them everywhere. I'm still spending all my money, but but that passion's there. And now it's pretty exciting to see them continue to grow into who they're going to become. But like I was saying earlier, those hard talks don't come at just 7 years old or 9 or 10, or, they get to be 15 or 16. Those conversations go on all the way through. And so you've got to, the one thing that I've always had with both kids is transparency. When I didn't think they were playing their best, I would tell them that. When they would ask me, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows, right? It's not always, hey, you just hang in there. You're a great player. You're just super fantastic. Yeah, you are, but are you playing to the best of your ability? Did you go out there and do the best that you could do? If you say yes, then I'm good with it.
Yeah.
So, but if you went out there and you weren't all the way in, then why are we doing this? And so, and so that's how it got started. I mean, it's evolved over time, but, even when my son went up to Penn State, he went up to Penn State as a hitter, believe it or not. And, he gets up to Penn State and he's there for the first year, and he gets done at the end of the year. He had a great first year. I mean, we were excited about it. A little disappointed. We thought he should have played more. But then the coach calls him into the office and says, nah, you're not good enough. You need to go on the transfer portal, kid. I need you out of Penn State. And my kid said, I don't want to leave Penn State. I like Penn State. And it was probably the hardest conversation. I mean, you're talking to somebody now that this has been his whole life, and now his whole life's going to end because this coach is saying, look, you're not good enough. And he probably wasn't. He probably wasn't. So, it's 6'6" and 235, 240. He said, but how about if I could pitch, coach? And so the coach was like, yeah, whatever. All right, go play in the Northwoods League and come back. And if you want to come back and play for the fall and play in the fall, I'll let you come back as a fall player. But I'm probably going to cut you. I'm just telling you that straight up. But come back, and if you can pitch, we'll kind of go from there. Well, yeah, he came back. He had a great summer. He pitched in the summer. Great. Northwoods League is a fantastic collegiate league. And then he went to back to Penn State. He had a great fall. He got to pitch. He made the team. He got to pitch a lot last year. And so, this year, going into this year, it looks like it's going to be a great year for him. He's going to get, he's one of their, I hate saying top pitchers, but he's one of their core guys that's going to get innings, right? I mean, he's a guy that he's going to be a weekend guy, I guess, in the college world. That's what you like to hear.
Yeah.
He's going to be a weekend guy. So, but, once again, being told that he can't do it and that passion coming out and him saying, yeah, I can't do it. That all came from him.
That's one of the great things about baseball as opposed to other sports. Baseball is a sport that is built on failure. You're going to fail more times than you succeed. And so you get used to the failure, in-game failure, and then you got used to the being told you're not good enough and having to overcome that. And going from 7 to what, the age of 20, and suddenly he's hearing it again. And
Yep.
he kind of has to reinvent himself every time he's told you're not good enough. Then I've got to find an avenue to be good enough. And that's just how life goes. And that's why one of the reasons why I really love baseball, because it is a sport built on overcoming your failures, knowing that you're going to fail, even the best 7 out of 10 times when you're hitting. Um, I've seen you've been from Alaska to Florida and everywhere in between, baseball tournaments.
Yeah.
It's quite the investment in time. But what better way to spend your time with your kids than doing something that they're passionate about, something you can share in, and something that you're using to help mold them into young men. One thing I did want to bring up, your youngest Caden is a pianist, correct?
Yep.
Does Connor play piano?
A little bit, but you could tell when he started, they got into it at the same time.
Yeah.
And
my daughter is a pianist. She's finishing her graduate degree and she's looking at PhD programs.
That's awesome.
And one thing that from the time she could play piano, I guess she was about 8 years old and she wanted to play for release for her recital. And her mother said, I think you need to try something else. And that just pissed her off. And she said, well, I'll show you. And that has just kind of been her music career, is I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you. But that discipline that it takes is what drives her, or one of the things that drives her into that discipline is people who continually tell her, man, you've got such a talent. And that kind of gets under her skin because they don't see the 8-10 hour days of practicing until your fingers shake, and going to these recitals and hearing the perfection at the recital, but knowing what she's put in the past 8 months to get there.
Yep.
So even though your kids are great athletes, it's the hard work that makes them excel. And it's the ability to say, maybe I'm not good enough, but I'm going to find a way to make it. And I commend your kids for that.
Well, it's the work that no one sees. I mean, it's you put all of this time, effort, and energy into it, and no one sees that. All they see is the end product. And if you could see, the time they spend in the weight room, or like you said, the time practicing the piano and just playing and playing and playing and playing, and no one sees, and the times that they mess up and the times that they fail, and it's just over and over. No one sees that.
Yeah.
They see it. I mean, we and then people see it and they're like, oh my gosh, they're so talented. It was just such, your sons are gifted athletes. Yeah, they got size. But they've worked their tail end off to get where they needed to be. So
now Connor was all-state in football as a lineman, correct?
He was.
Caden is obviously a fantastic quarterback as a sophomore, starting for a big school like Marquette.
Yep.
Did they ever consider going into football more so than baseball? Because Caden has already verbally committed to Mizzou to play baseball, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and that's part of the process, right? I mean, and it's like, I'll talk about Connor first. So Connor, all-state his junior and senior year in football, all-state in baseball, and the same thing, and all-metro, St. Louis all-metro. So pretty big deal. And he could play either way. Part of the challenge of deciding whether or not to go football was I remember him coming to me one day towards the end of the season. I was like, man, you could play football in college. You're going to have to put on 30 or 40 pounds, but you could play in college. And he just looked at me and he just said, he goes, Dad, it's high school football. And he goes, even after the high school football games, he goes, I get headaches. He goes, I don't want to do it. He goes, I couldn't imagine it. If I had a guy 300 pounds standing across from me, he goes, I don't want to do it. He just says, I can't. I'm like, okay, we're done. And so we never had another conversation about it. He said that, from a health standpoint, and he's like, and then I'm not saying that because I still coach it and my other one still plays it. And, but Connor was just like, yeah, I'm ready to move on. And I ask him every now and then because he gets to watch his brother play. I'm like, do you miss it? And he's like, yeah, I miss it. But I think what they miss is, and this is why Caden likes football, and I would say Caden actually likes football more than baseball, is because of the team and the one-smanship that you have in a football environment. And you don't necessarily have that in a baseball environment. And so, in football, we all know that you got 11 kids on the field. And if one kid misses a block or one kid doesn't do what they're supposed to, the whole team can fail. And it's not necessarily always that way in baseball. And so, having to have the unity and the close-knit group of guys that he has on the field, Caden just thrives in that kind of environment. And so, that I see him very passionate about it, but I can also be very critical of him, and his release is slow, and that he needs to pick up his 40 time by 0.3 of a second. And I can go down the list and tell you all of the things that's going to keep him from playing at Illinois or Mizzou or some other school, I mean, so he's got things to work on, but he loves the football. Baseball, he's just, the advantage for Caden in baseball, he's got an older brother. His older brother was recruited, throughout. So, knowing that he has a little brother, they start looking at the little brother. So Caden actually had schools starting to look and talk to him in 7th and 8th grade, back when recruiting was a little bit more lenient. And as Caden got he verbally committed to Mizzou in 8th grade. They since have, the NCAA has stepped in and stopped all verbal commitments. And they're like, this is crazy, because 7th grade kids are committing to colleges that they know nothing about. And it's kind of silly. So, so the beginning of I think the August of his junior year. So he'll play this spring season as a sophomore. He'll go through the summer season, and then you can actually commit the fall of your junior year. So the NCAA has gotten involved in it a little bit. So,
JJ, you got any questions?
Yeah.
I've been talking.
No. This has been so good. I'm just enjoying watching it. Scott, I've never met you before. I'm JJ. I'm the Cardinal part of the equation here. And I want to tell you something. I never met you before.
Yeah.
I sound like the Amazing Kreskin right now. I've never met this man before, but I could tell you were a coach. And until you said that, I was like, this guy's a coach. And you said you can't teach passion. But I tell you what, when I hear you talking, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go out there and do some squat thrusts out in the snow right now. But I want to tell you something. It's changed because I'm the oldest person here. I graduated in '83. When I graduated, Def Leppard's drummer had 2 arms. Okay, that's how old I am. All right, but I want to tell you, Little League was completely different. Like, remember we had those little helmets for running?
The half helmets. Yeah,
the
had
half
the
helmets
on top.
So the ball wouldn't hit. You. Yeah, and all that, and I loved it. But everybody got to play 2 innings, and usually we put the right field. It's sad, but that is true. And even on the high school team, a lot of schools, if you just try it out, you got to make the team in some kind of capacity. I didn't know it was so much competition out there now, and some of the schools have gotten so big, like these 5A and 6A schools, it's just a handful of kids that make the team. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, but, I mean, you'll have 100 kids try out. I mean,
easy. Yeah, and what, like probably 16 make the team or something like
13 to 16 make the team.
Yeah, it's something. My son plays baseball, but he's a nice high school player and things like that. What age did you know? Because not only size helps and speed, of course, and the desire, but when did you know these guys got, like your oldest son had, like the skills? Like,
so Connor was a pudgy kid. He was always a head taller, but he was, look, I mean, this is how bad it was. It's how bad it got, is that I had coaches, he was always a big kid and he could hit the ball a mile, but I would have coaches come up and be like, yeah, he can hit the ball now. He's 12 years old, but he's a big kid, but he's fat. Your kid's fat.
That's rough.
And your kid's not athletic. If you looked at your kid's ankles, your kid's got thick ankles. So thick ankles, no, he's not an athlete. Athletes have thin ankles. I mean, it got that bad. And so here he is, he's already a head taller. But then there's this thing that I know that maybe we have to think back in time called puberty. Puberty. God, you got to love puberty.
Things change.
Because puberty comes along and all of a sudden my kid goes from he goes from being a big kid to a monster. He goes to 6'5", 6'6", and he thins out. And when all that starts happening, all the work that he'd done starts to even get better, and he accelerates and he gets and so. And that's when I can remember him being in like going into 8th grade. I was like, he might really have a shot here. He's in 8th grade and he's 6'3" and he's thinned out. And now he's quick and now he can run. He still couldn't run all that good, but he could run. And now all the pieces are starting to come together. Right. And that's when I started to realize. And then 8th grade, I remember the varsity baseball coach came from high school, came down and started watching him and was just like, yeah, you're going to have an impact. You're going to play. They went to the state finals his sophomore year, and they lost to DeSmet in the state championship. And but yeah, he was a sophomore when they did that. But yeah, and then his junior year was a COVID year. And then he had a great senior year. So, but yeah, I was probably 8th grade or so. And then the younger one, I think we've known it from, I don't know, he was wee high. So just because, when you're that little and you got a brother that's 5 years older and all those kids are like, get off the field. You can't play with us unless you can catch and run and hit with us. The kid who's 5 playing with the 10-year-olds, he learned real quick how to be able to play baseball with 10-year-olds. And so you let it go and take shape itself. So
it sounds like that was a good school your kids went to too, because I've heard a lot of parents say they will only let the kid play one sport. Like, okay, you pick your sport and that's it. I have some friends that go up to Seckman and they said like lacrosse. Their son liked lacrosse, but he wanted to play basketball, but they wanted him to make a decision there.
I think it doesn't happen at Marquette, Marquette, okay. that they've always been respectful of the two or three sports. And now I've split them out, Connor could have probably played basketball and I know Caden can play basketball, but I was like, there's going to be some overlap. So don't do the overlap. So if you'd make my life a lot easier, and I've done a lot for you. So I hope you can take it into consideration when you make this decision, but could you just play 2? And they're like, yeah, we'll play 2, Dad. And I was like, all right. So we got, so we got that going, and mostly we use the winter now for, we do a lot of hitting and lifting and a lot of other stuff. And like I said, the crazy thing about, and you guys and probably, parents that and talk to that have kids in this stuff, that, it's ridiculous now. Baseball bats now are $500. You've got, playing on a club team or a travel team, back in the day, it was here, pay your $25 for your Corey League team or your Little League team. And now just playing in a 35 or 40 game season with a local club team can run you $2,500. You start getting into the high school teams, they can run you $3,000 to $5,000, then plus you've got all the travel, then plus you've got, it's a little bit sad in the fact that I think because of the cost, it excludes some people that don't have the means to do it. And, it's sad that it's gotten to that point where, you wish more kids could play and they could do more, but it's just unfortunately it's become like everything else in our society. And this is for a whole different podcast, money. It's all about the money, And so, and I see that now with the colleges, with the NIL money and and the kids opting out of the games and that's a whole nother podcast too, but it comes down to the money. It comes down to the money and winning. That's it, you know? And I think a lot of times, whether it be the club or it be the school, not so much the high schools, but the clubs and the colleges, it's the kids are just a means to get what the colleges ultimately want. And so, you know, the school loves you, the coaches love you, that coaches, you know, look, I can pretty much tell you, and I tell this to everybody, I'm like, my kid made the club team. Did you walk in with your checkbook open? Because I'm pretty much they were sure they were going to find a spot for your kid as long as you had the checkbook open.
Mm.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what it's come to. I mean, I get it. They want to help the kids and they want to help the kids get better, but they don't necessarily turn kids away, you know, not if they got a willing and able parent that's going to pay.
Well, I
Yeah.
respect you making those great memories with your kids, probably up and down the road and talking and remembering those days. That's great. I got kind of emotional when you were talking about the time
Dude,
you got to spend with your kids because that's beautiful, man.
it is. It's some of the best times that I have, you know. It's like my kid tells me it's kind of funny. We get home and the joke is, you know, it's when we're on the road, we have to watch Forensic Files. I don't know why, but as soon as my kid, because we'll never watch that damn show at home. But as soon as we're in a hotel room, my kid will be like, Dad, you got to get Forensic Files on, man. Let's get it going. That's just stupid stuff like that you'll never forget. So.
We do need to wrap this up. Man, Scott, thanks a lot for being on
Thank
here.
you, sir.
I've thought about getting you on here for a few months, but the timing just hasn't worked out for what we wanted to program. But I thought during the off season, it's a great time for people that are our age to hear about what's going on to get your kid to be in baseball and other sports at a high level these days. Because, you know, like we were talking beforehand, I was a pretty decent baseball player growing up, and I was excited to play 16 games in a summer.
Oh, yeah.
And my parents would go to maybe half the games. You know, I didn't care if they were there or not because we were just having fun. And then when, you know, like I said, off the air, when my sister, her son started doing the traveling stuff and everything, I thought, my gosh, times have changed so quickly. And it's quite an investment. So I do commend you for your investment. I thank you for your time. Okay.
And I would tell you real quick, I'll just finish on this note. It's just for any parents that are going to do it, you've got to make the commitment, just like your child's making the commitment to do it too. So spend the time with them, enjoy it, but you got to make that commitment. And if you make that commitment, they're willing to make that commitment. Any kid can get to that next level.
Great. Thanks a lot, Scott. And we will see you on down the road. Okay.
You got it, my friend. Take care, JJ. Nice to meet you.
Take care,
always
sir.
a pleasure, my friend. Take care.
All right. Take care. All right. That was my friend from high school, Scott.
Oh, great.
Tremendous
man, a fired up individual for sure.
Yeah, and commitment to the process. And like I said, I wanted to interview him so people who kind of don't understand how the system works now, it has completely changed from, you know, when I was a kid, man, 15 games and, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you won or lose, you know, you still got a soda after the game. And
no
now
fun for us.
now you got coaches saying 7 years old, you're out of here, you suck.
Man.
See,
Golly.
now
I can't take that rejection now when I was
I was
7.
gonna say, I would have cried, man. I would have cried my eyes out.
Oh.
But anyway,
Can I mention something?
yeah.
I went up to the card show
Oh yeah.
Sunday. All right. And I do have to tell the story. Let me tell you, 40 years after you've played, you don't sometimes look like you did on the baseball card, you know. So there was 3 lines. There was the Jackie Smith line, the Johnny Rowland line, and Jackie Smith is still alive. I seen him move around. He didn't look like animatronic or nothing. And then there was Sixto Lescano. All right. Well, Sixto Lescano was late. I didn't know that. So I thought, can I go on up? And I went up there with my baseball cards, and I was in the Johnny Rowland line. They go, that's Johnny Rowland. Well, you know, Johnny Rowland is an African American, and Sixto Lescano is Hispanic. So I'm not very good. I see no color. Everyone's equal to me. So anyway, I finally got a Sixto Lescanos, and he was late. And I bought a few autographs, but I just kept pumping cards to him, and he kept signing them. So I got quite a few. So I will show them at the card time. But I got so much stuff. I made deals. They're willing to make deals this time of year because the baseball season's not going on. So I got a lot of things. But here's a couple things I wanted to share with you. This is from 1974, Sports Illustrated, and the thing on there is it goes, the A's go for 3 in a row, and it's Catfish Hunter on the front of Sports Illustrated. That's pretty cool. Him at the height of his career right there.
Yeah, right
Catfish.
before that ball hit him in the eye.
They caught it at the last second. Well, then in 1975, they were going for 4 in a row, which they did not get. But there is Mr. Reggie Jackson. As a kid, I got a Reggie Jackson A's jersey and a Yankee jersey. I loved Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, and that whole A's team. That was one of my favorite teams back then. I also got I got a lot of stuff. My wife only knows some of the stuff I got, but I got from one collector who collects only vintage stuff. I got another. I've never seen this picture before. I got an autographed Enos Slaughter, and as you guys know, that's my favorite player. So that's like my 11th Enos Slaughter signed piece. And there's not a lot of this stuff out there. So if I bump into it, I have to get it. I traded for that. And then a new thing, Vince, when we see all these man caves and stuff, I see these frames with the signed jerseys. So I've been working on that, and I got 2 now, and I'm going to build something really neat. But I got Lee Smith. I got the Lee Smith autographed jersey, and he signed the 4 right here. And I got the letter of authenticity right here. But the one I got this week was Tommy Herr. And these jerseys look so good. Yeah, I got Tommy Herr. And they're really nice. Some of the jerseys are just almost like iron-ons, but these are the patches that are sewn that look really nice. And they have the patches on the sleeves and everything. So I'm getting some shadow boxes, and I'll be working. That's some of my winter projects to get ready. And of course, I also got a couple of things I met Lee Smith and had that signed, and I love that picture. But I bought this one, and this is Tommy Herr, Jack Clark, and Ozzie Smith celebrating a victory right there. So I'll be working on the shadow boxes, getting that done. And then I got some Brewers stuff too. After going to Milwaukee, I kind of like to follow the Brewers now.
It's going to be one Brewer, one Brewer, 2 Cubs. That would work.
I tell you what, I'll be honest with you. I knew the Cubs from afar, but after talking to you and Max, I love seeing what they're doing and what's going on. I've always loved Wrigley Field. When I was in the Navy, I'd go down there and watch ball games. I've learned so much about the Cubs from you guys when I play the Immaculate Grid now. I'm pulling stuff out from way deep, like Don Kessinger and Frank Chance and things like that. I'm putting those names out there in there. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. And really, the only team I don't like is the Mets. Sorry, Uncle Mark. I think it's Mark.
My
cousin Mark. Mark.
My cousin who's younger than me. Yes.
Yes. Hey, I'm my own grandpa.
Hey, I ran into a lady who's about 70 years old yesterday who told me that something, we were talking about the weather. She said, well, at least you're young. You can, I said, well, thank you for calling me young. She said, well, how old are you? In your 30s? I said, I'm 57. Are you kidding me?
Hey, look at you, Mr. Youth right there.
But JJ, you did not get the memo. You cannot mention Tommy Herr anymore because my wife goes crazy. Ooh, Tommy Herr. The permed mullet in the back.
Oh, yeah. He's something else, ain't he? Yeah.
Well, what are you opening up, JJ?
Well, I found my cards this week, and I'm opening up Series 2 of 2023. And it'll be about 3 or 4 weeks when the new 2024s come out. So I'm going to try to get all these shown before we get into the 2024s.
Okay, well, once more, I am opening up a minor league package from 1989. And yes, it is green, so it doesn't mix well with my green screen. But anyway, ooh, that's kind of cool. Ooh, yeah. But anyway, when we open these, we can see if any of these guys have ever played in the major leagues. So go ahead, let's
All
have it.
right. Well, I am going to show some of the Brewer stuff I got. I opened up a pack this week. It's hard for me not to open the packs before the show. When I get a pack of cards, I want to open them and look. But this week I opened up a pack and I got a Joey Weimer autograph one. So when you open these packs and you get an autograph card, it basically has a thing on the back that says, "Congratulations, you are the owner of." And a lot of these players, and now these players get paid a lot of money. Back in the old days, they didn't make so much, and they all have some sort of contract with Topps, and they sign like 20 to 50 cards, and they're just scattered in there. So I got Joey Weimer right there. And then the Sixto Lescano cards I got signed. There's a Sixto with the Brewers
He's a
right
good-looking
there.
guy.
That he is a good-looking guy. Right there with the old M hats. They have the old M hats right there. I think that's like 77 maybe. And then this was him with the Brewers. I also got a Cardinal and a Padre one too. But anyway, I got all my Brewer ones out. And now for the 2023s. Let's see. Oh, this is the guy I picked to win the MVP in the National League. Austin Riley had a very good year. I think this kid's a superstar. He's a big linchpin to that team right there. So anyway, Austin Riley on the Stars of the MLB. They have that series going. And then here's a Cincinnati Red player, and you can see they're kind of embossed right there. And it's Hunter Strickland, the pitcher for Cincinnati Reds, right there. I don't know. They got so many different borders, and there's different prices on different ones. I don't worry about that too much. Let's see. I'm looking through here. Some of these things. Oh, the closer for Pittsburgh Pirates. This guy, I think, is the best reliever in our division right here. Bedard of the Pirates. He played for the World Baseball Classic. I think
Some good
this guy.
closers.
Devin
Yeah.
Williams.
Devin Williams. Yeah.
Oh, Devin Williams. That's true. I would go with Bedard though. I would go with Bedard. That guy last year had a great year, and Devin Williams is great. Devin Williams is great.
Someone on one of the baseball websites said something. Someone posted, "Who has the nastiest pitch in baseball?" And someone posted Devin Williams airbender, which I contend is nothing more than a screwball. But
I've said that before. Yeah.
and he said, as a Brewers fan, I would say, Devin Williams airbender. Another guy said, I'm a Brewers fan too, and I concur. And I said, I'm a Cubs fan, and I concur, sadly, with a little crying. I hate when he comes in. He is almost unhittable.
He is fantastic.
But Bednar's really good too. So
he's really good too. Yeah. Well, thank you for straightening me out there. I completely forgot about Devin Williams there. I tell you what, Kansas City. This is Jonathan Helsley right here. And one of the young pitchers for Kansas City. I think they're on the upswing. Rocky, he's been there for a while. Kyle Freeland, right there with the Rockies. Oh man, you say a name and it comes back and bites you. Randy Arozarena running the second base right there. That guy's got such a flash and flair for the game. Very enthusiastic. He deserves everything. He's a fantastic player. Detroit Tiger. I know he was an Oriole too. Jonathan Scope, right there with Detroit.
Boy, he's been everywhere. It seems like in the American League. It seems like he's kind of made the rounds.
They got some team pictures or teams here. This is the Royals. They're like team picture with all the like a checklist on the back. So every team has some sort of action picture there. Let's see the next one here. Oh, San Diego Padres. There they are celebrating. Got a couple more here. Oh, he was a big guy in the news this week. Chris Sale going to Atlanta.
Yeah,
right there. I tell you what, if he finds any kind of the form he used to have, look out, because he's going to be the number 3 picture. I think is what they're projecting him to be. And then Trace Thompson from your Los Angeles Dodgers right there with their 1.5 $4 billion payroll.
Cubs legend.
Oh,
Yeah.
is he? Oh,
Wait for
Yeah,
the
very
Cubs.
briefly. He hit a go-ahead like 3-run homer grand slam in like the second to last game of the season against the Cardinals a couple of years back.
great memory, Max. Man, I
Yeah.
don't remember that. Maybe I've taken that.
It was like October 1st or something. It was
Put that out
no
of
one
my
was playing
mind,
for anything.
probably. So that's it for my set.
All right, I'm going to open up the minor leaguers and we'll see if the first time we did this, nobody. The second time we did this, we had some decent players. Albert Bell and a few others. So let's see what we got
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Ooh, pitcher for Pittsfield, Mark Willoughby. Don't know him. Oh, outfielder from Burlington, the I Never Smile, Nolan Lane.
Oh, that dude's got that bat, man. He's going to do some damage.
Johnson City, Cardinal Class A organization, Richard Shackle.
Do not know Richard Shackle.
The Spartanburg shortstop, Mike Morandini. I wonder if he's related to Mickey.
Maybe. I
Wonder
say
if this
something.
is Mickey Morandini. I wonder if I don't know. Could be.
I don't know.
Former All-Star pitcher, pitching for Kingston at this time. Went on to pitch in the World Series, Charles Nagy.
Oh, yes. There he is.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Good pitcher.
For Princeton, Kelly Woods.
Smart guy.
Okay, Miami outfielder, Michael Maxadian. And I swear to God, he looks like he's 40 years old.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a real guy there.
Kingsport first baseman, James Harris. Nope.
Wasn't James Harris a backup quarterback for the Rams back
Quarterback
in
for the
70s?
Rams, first African American for the Rams. Quarterback
Oh,
for the
really?
Rams.
I'll be
Yeah.
darned.
Beloit third baseman, Frank Bollock. And from Gastonia, second base, Jeff Fry. So, well, we got Charles Nagy. That's the only one I've
Charles Nagy.
ever heard of. So that was pretty good.
I forgot that name. That name I kind of had let slip out of my mind. Charles Nagy's very good.
When Cleveland was really good in the mid-90s, he was their ace. He and
That's
Oral
right.
Hershiser, man, they were a good team. So
That was
I
really
want to
good.
thank Scott for joining us, and thank you all for being here. It's an exciting Cub Day, and watch him go 5-17. But right now, on this date, on Violet's 20th birthday, I'm excited about it. So very cool. Remember the Guess the Cub contest. We still have 2 free agents to be signed before we can complete that, and that would be Bellinger and Snell.
Yes.
And they will be signed probably in about 3 hours before spring training breaks.
It looks.
So anyway, and we will see you all next week. Thank you.